Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are keeping well. So today I am here to start with the unit 5, that is Changing Times. It's chapter 1 of history. The name of this chapter is the medieval period. So get the ball rolling. Medieval period, features of the medieval period, sources of medieval period, highlights of the medieval period in India. History terms: inscriptions, writing found on pillars, rocks, cave walls, copper plates, etc. Chronicles, records of historical events as they have happened. Autobiography, a biography written by a person himself. Biography, a life history of a person written by someone other than the individual himself. The vast subcontinent of India was born in the past as Bharatvarsh, the land of the Bharatas, bordered in the north by the Himalayas and by the oceans in the south. The Muslims during the medieval period called the subcontinent Hindustan and refer to the people as Hindus, as Babar wrote in the autobiographical work Babarnama. Through the study of ancient India, we studied the event and proceeding that led to the growth and development of our early culture and tradition. Medieval period. The medieval period is the period in between the ancient and modern period. The 18th century saw many changes in political, economic, social and cultural life of the people of India. There were also changes in the pattern of their thinking and behavior. Thus, we take the 8th century as the one belonging to the medieval period. Changes did not take place suddenly at any particular period of time. Some changes appeared earlier at some place and some quite later. Many changes took place after the downfall of the Mughal Empire, and the East India Company became the leading power in India in the medieval of the 18th century. This is taken as the end of the medieval period in India. Thus, the medieval period lasted for about 1000 years, from 8th century to the 18th century, or between 700 and 1750 AD. Features of the medieval period. In order to make the study convenient, historians have divided the period into two phases. The first one is the early medieval period. Covers the period between the 8th and the 12th century. This period is actually the period of the Rajput kingdoms in the north. The rule of the Pratiharas, Palas and Rashtrakutas and their conflicts over Kannauj and the Chola kingdom in the south. The second one is later medieval period. Covers the period between the 13th and the 18th century AD. This period includes the Delhi Sultanate under the Turk and Afghan rulers, Bahmani and Vijayanagar kingdoms, and the Mughal Empire. With the coming of the Turk, Afghans and the Mughals, Indian society underwent drastic changes. Sources of medieval period. Information on the medieval period is derived from two main sources, archaeological and literary. There is an abundance of sources for this period. The books written during this period are available to us, and the monuments that were constructed still stand. That is why we know much more about the medieval period than the ancient period. Archaeological sources. The study of history through the material remains of human life is known as archaeology. Such sources may include monuments, paintings, sculptures, inscriptions and coins. Monuments and buildings. Historical monuments and buildings such as palaces, temples, forts, mosques, tombs, clock towers, etc. also help to reconstruct the past. These buildings reveal the architectural style and the cultural influences of the period. The famous monument of the medieval period are the Humayun's tomb, Qutub Minar, mosques such as Quwaitul Islam and Jama Masjid, Red Fort, Taj Mahal, Hoselwara Temple, etc. They provide information about the architectural skills of workers, the materials used for construction and the mode of transportation in the use, as well as the cultural and religious beliefs prevalent during this time. Inscriptions. Inscriptions can be defined as the wordings inscribed on a coin, pillar, medal, monument or seal. Inscriptions helps us in discovering and reconstructing the history and culture of a particular period. Reconstruction is essential for gaining greater details of the civilization that one wishes to study. Several Tamil inscriptions of the medieval era have revealed the existence of a social formation that was opposed to the hierarchical caste system based on Brahminical ideology. Coins. Coins tell us about the polity and economy of a period. The legends or writings on the coins generally convey the names, date of issues, titles, and portraits of kings, and at times even their dynastic emblem. Coins shed light on art, religion, economic conditions, trade, etc. The composition of the metal or alloy used in the coins give information on the scientific advancement achieved. At times, coins are excavated from distant places, which gives an idea about the extent of the empire. The Cholas and other regional rulers issued many coins. Paintings. The art of painting was very popular during the medieval period. The remains of buildings of Vijayanagar kingdom found at Hampi indicate workmanship of painters and sculptors. The Mughal rulers such as Akbar and Jahangir were great lovers of painting. They founded the Mughal school of painting and encouraged Persian and India art traditions. Brainstorm. Why did kings have inscriptions carved on copper plates and temple walls? Literary sources. The medieval age in Indian history forms a vital fountainhead of Indian culture heritage. It witnessed numerous invasions by Muslim rulers who spoke Persian, Arabic and Turkish. Thus, medieval literacy texts are found written in the language along with Sanskrit. Literary sources include royal autobiographies, chronicles, religious texts, works of historians and accounts of foreign travelers. The Brahmin and others continue to study the sacred books in Sanskrit, but Arabic and Persian remain the court language. A. Royal autobiographies. Firoz Shah Tughlaq wrote his autobiography called Futuhati Firoz Shahi. Memories called Tuzaki Babri in Turkish. It is an authentic source of information for this period. B is Chronicles. Ziauddin Baruni was a 14th century chronicler. He wrote a chronicle which begins with the accession of Balban and comes down to the early years of Firoz Tughlaq. Abdul Fazl wrote An-e-Akbari, which gives a detailed account of administrative system of the great Mughal Emperor Akbar. Literary works like Raja Tarangini by Kalhana and the epic Prithvi Raj Raso by Chand Bardai are works of great historical importance. These works throw light on early medieval India. C part is accounts of foreign travelers. India attacked the attention of many foreign travelers. Marco Polo of Venice visited India in 13th century. He left an interesting account of the southern Pandya kingdom. He also visited Varangal. He spoke highly of the merchants of Gujarat. Ibn Battuta was a native for Morocco and visited India during Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign. Niccolo Conti, an Italian traveller who visited India in 1420, speaks highly of the Hindu kingdom of Vijayanagar. Archives are places where old manuscripts, documents and records are stored. Music. The study of music provides ample scope of determining the life and culture of a particular age. Indian music had reached its zenith by the time the Muslim rulers established their kingdom in North India during the medieval times. During this period, a musical grammar was already in existence and at a rather evolved stage. So students, let's connect to history. Amir Khusrau, it's time for connect to history. Amir Khusrau, whose actual name was Yaminuddin Muhammad Hassan, had written more than 4 lakh couplets. He became a disciple of Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia. The medieval period saw the development of 2 schools of music, Hindustani and Carnatic. Famous Indian musicians such as Swami Haridas, Tansen and Baiju Bawra have left their imprint on the history of North Indian music. South Indian music or the Carnatic music was influenced by the Sanskrit musical theories. In instrumental music, North India invented the tabla, sitar, sarod, while the South had its veena, violin and mridanganam. Highlights of the medieval period in India. Let us now see in journal outline about the historical trends of the medieval period. We shall study the detailed and specific aspects of the early and later medieval period in subsequent chapters. Growth of settlements. The settlements grew in size as population grew in numbers. Trends changed, technology started growing and people started traveling around in search of food and shelter. This caused cutting down of jungle and more agricultural growth. Development of travel and trade. Gradually, people started traveling to more distant places and travelers from Persia, Arab, China and other distant foreign lands started visiting this region to explore and understand the people. These voyages and travels developed trade and exchange of items from different regions of far-flung areas. The messages of the levels of prosperity in this region traveled wide and trade increased. Social changes. In the society of the divisions were increasing. The Jati Pratha or class discrimination, the complex rituals of belief and fate, the superstition grew. The society started adding subcastes to the already divided castes. The subclasses or jatis varied in position and power from place to place. Each one had its own rules and regulations for its members and gradually the human race got divided into sections. Each jati had their head or panchayat heads. Religious changes. Religion started gaining importance and this led to construction of many temples. Brahmins started gaining importance as they were considered as the intermediaries between God and man. They started gaining control over society as they were the one who had knowledge and wisdom and were in great demand. New deities came to be worshipped. Islam found a foothold and believers of Islam also settled in the Indian regions. Later, the Mughals came into India in this period and they started ruling, which brought in more cultural changes. The mix of religions has both advantages and disadvantages. When people can learn from each other, they also get divided by religious learnings. This is what happened in the society and the society started getting divided on religious lines. It was due to these religious conflicts that saints and Sufis came into being to preach harmony and tolerance, about which you shall study later in this book. Political developments. The period we are studying extended over nearly 1,000 years. The changes in society were gradual and definite. A group of people who emerged as leaders were the Rajputs. The name basically was derived from the word Rajputra, meaning the son of a ruler, as they were considered to be the protectors of society. They were expected to have the hereditary traits of bravery and sense of loyalty. They developed a reputation of valor and warriors. This section of society was predominantly in the northern regions of the country. In other parts of the kingdom, Sikh and Jats also became politically important. They were considered as martial races who were brave warriors. Society started adding subcastes to the already divided castes. The subclasses or jatis varied in positions and power from place to place. Each one had its own rules and regulation for its member, and gradually the human race got divided into sections. Each jati had their head or panchayat heads. Religious changes. The royal class was famous for their interest in gardens and various forms of entertainment, and thus the culture saw many changes. The various forms of dance and music changed and grew. New forms like Kathak, Qawwalis got introduced. The architecture of building also saw a change. Color, use of stones, design and materials of construction saw major changes during this era. Languages like Urdu and Persian grew in popularity. Now it's time to connect to history. The study of inscription is called epigraphy. These are mostly carved on gold, silver, iron, copper, stone pictures and walls of rock temples. Now students, it's time to wrap up. The medieval period in India lasts between 800 to 1800 CE, and it was subdivided into the early and late medieval periods. India has been known by different names as Bharatvarsha and Hindustan. Inscriptions, coins, monuments, sculptures and paintings are the archaeological sources used to reconstruct the history of the period. Court chronicles, biographies, autobiographies, translated works and archives from the literary sources of medieval Indian history. So students, it's time to take your leave. We'll meet in the next class. Bye.